Welcome into a blue-collar version of the official Campus Canton's premier recruiting show, diving into depths of players, asking new questions, and uncovering data for future prospects. Tonight, we're going full degenerate, giving you a way too early look at the 2023 recruiting class before 2022 freshmen and supplemental drafts even kick off. Let's rock and roll. If you're wondering where Alfred is, he's locked in my basement. Just kidding. He is taking a well-deserved vacation in Disneyland with his family. And he asked me to bring the ruckus tonight. You can find everything I do at Chris Moxley 19. I'm just happy to be here with two really smart guys. Y'all know Matt. You find him at Big Wide Receiver Guy. Y'all know David. You can find him at Solving Football. They're the veterans of the show, the engine that keeps the recruiting process of Campus Canton going. True innovators in this space. Y'all have no idea how much stuff they're doing behind the scenes. Incredibly impressive. We're going to talk about the 2023 class tonight, and it's a really early look. Like I mentioned earlier, we haven't had 2022 drafts yet. So we're getting an early look at this class. We're going to talk about the Greek god himself, Arch Manning. And the reason I think this is such great conversation is knowing the quality of future classes lets you acquire or think about freshman picks differently in the current year. If you want to move out in later picks for future picks, I think that's a good conversation. So we'll get to know who those people are that we want to look for, or if we want to fade next year's class and acquire more picks this year. With all that said, I'll let you go first, Matt. What is your opinion on how this class compares to the classes that we've seen in the last 2, 3, 4, even 5 years?
Yeah, so I think this class is going to be thought about more for its depth than its high-end top talent, except for the quarterback position. For wide receivers and running backs, it's the high-end talent isn't quite there, but there's definitely some really deep, amount of guys available this year or next year.
David, I'll ask you the same. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the quarterbacks at the top are all crazy talented. Probably more so than the last class. Just it's actually pretty equivalent, kind of. I would say maybe a little bit more, but there's still some answers to be had there at the quarterback position. But wide receiver is super deep. It seems like it is every year. I don't know. It's just like all the best athletes seem to be gravitating towards playing wide receiver. It's just there's so many good guys. So many. I don't know if there's like at the top. I don't know if there's one guy that definitely stands out for me. But there's a lot of super solid prospects. And then as far as like running back, I'm kind of lost on this running back class. I like the previous class way more than this class. I don't want to say it's like they're like juniors right now, so I don't want to like overreact or anything. They can get a lot better, but just basically binge watching this class. There's just not that many guys that stand out to me too much.
That's interesting. I mean, 2022 is a great running back class. We have a lot of really high quality players. 2021, we saw Travion Henderson, and he was clearly the one. Will Shipley was kind of the locked in too, but after that, there were some questions I think as well. We saw Donovan Edwards emerge this year. I think we like Braylon Allen a lot. But again, that was a class that was thought of kind of down. But based on what y'all are saying, there's not a Travion level prospect in this class.
No.
Is there a Will Shipley level prospect in this class?
Maybe. I do have a clear top running back. I do like him a lot, but he's not like a really like solid, like I'm going to go all in on this guy type of player. There's concerns there.
Yeah, I don't think I'd have any of these running backs in tier 1 from last class. So
yeah.
I didn't do rankings 2 years ago. I don't know. Will Shipley, he was a solid prospect. He'd probably be one for me, honestly. Yeah, it's close. I don't know. There's the guy at 1, I think, it's just a different style of player. But there's definitely no Bijan Robinsons. There's nothing like that.
No.
For the wide receivers, y'all seem to think similarly, maybe that this is just a really solid group, really deep depth. Do we like anyone above Adam Randall, above Luther Burden? Is there that level of player in this class, or is it similar to running backs where we have questions about, what the overall upside of some of these players is, and maybe it's just a solid class that we'll see in 2 or 3 years, a guy 2, 3 come out from, but right now we're just not there yet.
Yeah, so somebody actually asked me this exact question like earlier this week on the Campus to Kent Discord. And I would have Adam Randall and Luther Burden as the top 2 in this class still. After that, maybe, it starts to get interesting. But that's why I'm saying I don't think there's that high-end top talent, but there is still very good talent and very deep talent in the wide receiver class.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I recently swapped Burden over Randall. But I do think that I hate that injury for Randall. I don't know. It makes things anyways. An ACL is like a sprained ankle these days, so I don't know. I'm sure he'll be fine, but I think those 2 are probably ahead of the rest of these guys as of now. Things can change, obviously.
How much, and y'all have done a ton of work on the recruiting side of this and trying to project player production for college, and some of the models that you built, Matt, are really interesting, and the work that y'all are doing is kind of next level stuff you don't really see anywhere else. How does an injury like that for a player who hasn't even stepped on the field in Randall's case affect his outcome or outlook for y'all? Knowing everything that you know about his high school stats, but we haven't seen a single snap of college production.
Yeah, I think like Dave was saying, ACLs aren't as big of a deal as they used to be. And especially when he's one of the youngest players in this class, he was less than 18 years old when he at National Signing Day, he's probably in the 90th percentile for youngest guys in this class. So I like that, especially when you're younger, having to deal with an injury like that. I think having the longer age gap to take care of that for when you're in the league, that makes sense. Obviously, it's going to hinder his college production. I heard rumors that maybe they're thinking he could come back by the middle to end of the season, which would be interesting. But I wouldn't count on for any production this year, obviously, and it's going to give him a slower start into year 2. But in the end, I still love his NFL upside, but it's really going to knock him on the college side.
And that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I don't think it's a huge. Maybe if it was like his second serious knee injury or something like that. But I went back and I looked through, and the only thing I could find is he had like a banged up shoulder at one point, and he had like some ankle. He had like an ankle injury at one point. But like if this was like his second ACL or something, I'd be more concerned. But yeah, I think he'll bounce back. Maybe it stunts his progression a little bit, but in the long run, I think he'll be fine.
That's good to hear. He's going as the wide receiver 2 in our ADP currently behind Luther Burden. So that probably is right based on, what we saw with the injury, and that we still really like his NFL potential. Y'all ready to dive into some of the key position groups in this class?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So I have not, I will preface this. I am standing in for Alfred tonight. He is far more on the recruiting side than I am. So I've come in and asked Matt and David to provide their top 3 at each skill position: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, who they like in this class, talk a little bit about them. There's going to be overlap. We all really like a lot of these players. I think it's a good class, maybe not a spectacular class. But let's start with quarterbacks. David, who are your top 3? And then Matt, I'll give you yours and see where we disagree or have agreements.
So my top 3 are Dante Moore, Malachi Nelson, and Arch Manning. What do you got, man?
All right. So mine are slightly different order here. Arch Manning, Dante Moore, Malachi Nelson.
Yeah, I'll just talk about. I think I'm contrarian on Dante Moore. I don't know. I just think he has. I just think he has it. He kind of reminded me of Bryce Young a little bit when I watched him. He's a little bit bigger version. I can't find rushing stats on him, but I think he's mobile enough. That's like the biggest knock on him so far. And I did find like individual games where he went over 80 yards and 70 yards and stuff like that. And like he doesn't have a cannon, but I think he does have a good arm. So I think he can run when he wants to. But like he's just a good decision maker. Can make all the throws. He does really well when facing pressure. And I think Detroit public competition is actually better than most people think. At least as far as like max preps, their strength of schedule. I think he was, no one's going to know what these numbers mean, but like 21.5, which is a decent strength of schedule. He played like the sixth best last year. He played like the sixth best team from Indiana, Carmel, and he just ripped them up. So he impressed me the most. I feel like on he might not have the highest upside, maybe like from a physical standpoint, but I don't know. I think he has the it factor. I like him. What do you think about Dante?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of him. I really, like you said, how he handled pressure. There was that one throw in his tape. I think it was pretty early in, but he gets smacked. He gets the ball out incredibly quick, and it's just a total dime. He's really good operating in the pocket. He's got really good movement, poise. He's pretty refined in that area already. Like you said, the rushing upside, not really there. He can extend plays, but he's not going to really be that guy to take off for 20 yards. That's something I kind of do like about Arch, though, is that he has all those things that Moore has, but he can also run, which is a new trait for the Mannings, except for Cooper, obviously, because he could run. But it's really just a safety pick going with Arch there. I think he just has all the tools. He has a good arm. He's refined. He has the processing. He's not just a one read guy and dump it. And then I think we should both get into why we have Malachi so low, because I know a lot of people have him as QB1 this class, like our good friend Austin, who's a known Malachi lover. So Malachi is pretty old. He is 19 at National Sign Day next year. He'll be 19.17, which is like 90th percentile oldest for a recruit. That's like really, really old for a recruit. He's going to be 20 by like the middle of his freshman year, which that's not great. I don't know. We don't have the numbers yet to say how important that is for quarterbacks, but either way, it's not ideal. And the second concern is that he's just loaded with wide receiver talent. He has Mekhi Lemon, who's going to be, for me, a top 3 wide receiver for sure. DeAndre Moore, top 15 wide receiver. Their third wide receiver is the 38th listed athlete on 24/7, and he has a Bama and Georgia offer. Probably going to play DB, though. And then they have another wide receiver who's ranked like 130 in the nation. But still, having those four players are actually being highly recruited, that's just a game changer.
Yeah, we don't know exactly how much the age thing is going to matter. It doesn't seem amazing, so I don't know if he was like held back 1 year or something. But yeah, to be 19.17, that's definitely on the high side. I actually talked to you guys about this recently. Like the oldest hit that I have in my database, and that's like 500 some quarterbacks, is Ryan Tannehill, and he was like 18.55 years old. So I don't know if it's going to matter. We'll find out more. We'll see, because there's a bunch of guys that'll test that theory. Like Caleb Williams was like actually older than Malachi Nelson. I think he was like 19.2 on National Signing Day. So I do like, those are a lot of concerns. I think he's super accurate. I don't know, for an older guy, I figured he'd be more filled out by now, and he's super skinny. I think he will add weight eventually. And I wouldn't consider him dual, like necessarily. He is pretty athletic, especially in the pocket, but I don't think he's like really going to be a dual threat or anything like that. So for fantasy purposes, that's not amazing, but like he's going to USC. I mean, they're going to be stacked with receivers. Like, I don't know. He's my second guy for now. Arch just hasn't been like efficient at all, which is mildly concerning. He doesn't really have anyone to throw to, I guess, but like as a junior, 8.5 yards per attempt, 65% completion percentage, which is decent. But like his strength of schedule, he didn't play against very good competition. And the one thing about his, he is definitely more mobile than like, you know, Peyton and Eli were or whatever. But like, I just wonder how much of those rushing yards are sort of like were manufactured because he's just like, he's huge. Like he's like what, 6'4", 215, 220 already.
He's a pretty big guy.
Like he moves pretty well, but like, I mean, he was just trucking kids. So like, he's not going to do that in college probably like as nearly as much. So, but those are the clear, I mean, those guys are pretty clear. I don't think anyone's going to test those three. I think those three are probably going to stay in the top three throughout the whole process.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a pretty consensus top three.
So y'all did not mention the $8 million man, Nico Iamaleava. What are our thoughts on him? Because he's a 5-star prospect. He did get signed a huge, allegedly, of course. I don't think it's official. He did sign a huge deal with the University of Tennessee. He's not in the top three. It doesn't sound like he's close to being in that tier. What do we think of him?
Do you have a take on him, David?
I just think he's I don't know what to think of him. He's so weird. He's like almost 6'6", like he looks like he's 190 pounds. I don't know. He's listed at 195, I think. 200 somewhere in there. But he's just a strange build, a build that doesn't, he would have to be a unicorn almost, it seems like. I don't know. Like maybe he'll fill out, but like it's his build, I think. Like he's just like, he's kind of a slender, he's almost looks like Slender Man. It's like very strange. Like he has no butt to him. He is like his lower body is very skinny. His tape is pretty much just sitting in shotgun, just standing there. And he has a really strong arm. I mean, he does have a can't. Yeah. And he's pretty accurate. Like when he starts to move around, it's just awkward looking to me. I don't know why they're giving him that much. I'd be worried for Tennessee people that are investing all that money in him. I don't know. In college, he'll probably be pretty decent, but like as far as like NFL prospects, he makes me nervous.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with that. It's just his size is so weird. Then on top of that, his tape just isn't that exciting, really. Like he's got the big arm, but outside of that, there's really just not that much to go off of. You know, he's a real upside pick for sure.
Yeah, and he's a 5-star, but he definitely seems like doesn't quite fit the mold that maybe the rest of them do. So of those picks, and y'all all have the same. Compared to this year's class, how many are you taking over your 101? If it's Drew Aller, it's Devin Brown, it's Ty Simpson, whoever it is.
I'm probably taking my top two over last year's class.
So that's Arch and Malachi Nelson.
Dante Moore.
Dante Moore, yes. Y'all both have Malachi at 3. So Dante Moore and Arch. David, are you in a similar boat?
I don't know. I just like I think I like Dante the most. There's actually kind of a lot of parallels between this class and last class. Like Arch Manning has all these tools. Like he's got a cannon. You could say, and he's not very efficient. You can say the same thing about Drew Aller. Like they have some similarities there. And then Malachi is like this super skinny, like really accurate player, kind of like, and he plays for like a powerhouse team with tons of great weapons. So that's similar to like Cade Klubnik a little bit. And then you got Dante Moore, who he's kind of like a Devin Brown in a sense. He's like playing middling competition. I just think he has like an it factor. I just think, I don't know. I want to see how Dante progresses. I want to see like if he gets more athletic, I guess. That's what happened with Devin Brown last year. Like as a junior, he was a total dud. I don't know what happened. If he just, he just went through puberty, I guess. I don't know, but he got like way more athletic as a senior and like everything changed for him. So, that could happen for somebody else. Hopefully it happens for Dante because I think his ceiling would be the highest. So I guess my answer would be Dante for me.
I like that. Yeah, it's quarterback class is good. I think we've established that. Top three is very solid. Arch Manning, Malachi Nelson, Dante Moore. We all have Malachi at 3. Legitimate questions about his level of competition, like I said. Oh, David has him at 2. David is the lowest on Arch and gave us the hot take of Dante Moore at 1. So it's good class, but still questions about it. Let's go to running backs. Matt, I'll let you give the top 3 this time.
All right. My top 3 are Cedric Baxter Jr., Reuben Owens, and Jeremiah Cobb.
I got Justice Haynes, Cedric Baxter, and Reuben Owens. So it looks like we have two similarities there.
I was not expecting Haynes to get that high for you.
Yeah, what's the story on Haynes?
I liked his tape the most, at least. He's shifty. I don't know. 24/7 has at 200 pounds, I think. His speed is like pretty good, not amazing. I think he's just a smart running back. Like he knows what he's doing. Like he knows where to go. He knows where to follow blocks. He's got pretty good vision. I mean, mind you, I just binge watched like tons of players, and like I haven't done like a huge in-depth study on him, but like I thought his movement was pretty good. And I did actually watch him last year. I was watching other players like in, I think, a rivals camp, and he like stood out to me as like he's really good at running routes. I think his receiving market share was 10%, which isn't amazing in high school, but like I think he has the potential to be a better receiver in college if they want to use him like that. I don't know how they'll use him, but so he doesn't like. He's kind of a jack of all trades. He's like just a very solid running back, and that's like my sentiment on like. I don't even want to hype this guy up, but like he's probably my favorite as far as being the most well-rounded. And that can translate to fantasy points, if he can run between the tackles, if he can catch passes and all that. So, yeah, I'm not stoked about it, but he's in my top 3 right now.
And you both have Reuben Owens and Cedric Baxter. Owens is a likely Texas commit. Baxter, I'm not sure we have insight into yet.
No,
at least I haven't seen anybody put in a crystal ball prediction for him. We're also the one that I've seen for Haynes is Georgia. It sounds like he's probably the 2023 Georgia guy. He is the 3rd RB in the class, depending on what rankings you're looking at. You had a different 3. You had Owens and you had Baxter. Where do you disagree, Matt?
Yeah, so Haynes just missed out. He's my number 4. And if you had asked me a week ago, he would have been in my 3. But after rewatching, I wasn't as impressed with his lateral movement as I initially was. I think he's good, but not a great lateral mover. And on top of that, he doesn't time out that well. I think he's a low 21, high 20 mile per hour guy, which at 200 pounds is plenty fine, but it's not anything special. And on top of that, the receiving market share wasn't that high, which I didn't see his rivals camp. So that's good to hear that he at least looked good in the passing sense there. But I think Reuben Owens is a really interesting guy. He's really old, but outside of that, that's pretty much his only knock. He's extremely productive, really good receiver, pretty athletic, 20.5 miles per hour at 205 pounds, which is plenty good. And if it wasn't for the age thing, he's going to be 20 years old in October of his freshman season in college, which is very old. I think he's going to be 19.3 at National Signing Day. It's that part concerns me. He's probably not going to put on any more weight. I think he's probably maxed out because of the age. But yeah, that part just worries me a lot.
So he is the number one running back, according to 24/7 composite. He probably is going to Texas. That all signs point to that. I don't believe it's official commitment, but it's likely going to happen. They just brought in Jadon Blue, who is everyone at Camp Scan's a huge fan of. Head to head, you have to choose one. Do we like Blue or do we like Owens? Do we think Owens could push Blue heading into next season when Bijan declares for the draft? That's the big concern. Okay, so we prefer Blue.
Yeah, I
Gabe, are
think
you in
they
a
will
similar
probably
camp?
agree with that.
Yeah, I prefer Blue by a good amount.
Yeah,
That is good to hear for those drafting Jadon Blue very high, which I know he's going top, I believe, 3 or 4 rounds of Camp Scan ADP. So that's excellent. So of those backs, none are jumping Nicholas Singleton.
no.
None are jumping Jadon Blue. Are any jumping Branson Robinson? Or any jumping who is the lowest 22 back that you would take over any of these 3 guys?
Well, Dave and I have been talking lately, and we're starting to fall on Branson a little bit for reasons we could probably get into on another pod. But I think Cedric Baxter would probably be in like the RB4 or 5 range for me if he were in this current class, around there. Because he's a really high athletic guy. He's 215 pounds, runs 21.5 miles per hour. Most Newtons in this class I've gotten so far for a running back in terms of size, speed. And he moves pretty well laterally. He's not going to wiggle someone in the open field, but he makes a lot of good cuts around the line of scrimmage, and he navigates that traffic well. Very limited receiving upside, though. So that's my big concern with him.
Yeah, I think Baxter is I think he's kind of similar to Andrew Paul, but I still like Andrew Paul slightly more. I think he's a better lateral mover than Baxter even. Baxter is definitely the physical specimen of this class for sure. I think, 21.5 at 215 pounds is obviously he's a beast, but I don't know. His tape wasn't amazing. He didn't he didn't catch a lot of passes. His wiggle's fine, I guess, but didn't seem like a very creative runner or anything. But you're saying the worst, I don't even know. I kind of like even Justin Williams a little bit more. I don't like his situation at Tennessee, the way they divvy up carries or whatever, as far as fantasy goes. But just talent wise, I think I even like Justin Williams a little bit more than
This is not a good running back class.
No,
It's
I don't
not
know.
great.
I don't know. This is
Really
I haven't
not.
really listened to anyone else, so I don't know. I could just be way off here, and I binge watched these guys in the last couple of days. I just don't like it. I don't know.
So that should, that makes me want to consider trading into this class from a 2023 perspective. We don't think it's going to be as deep. We have questions about Justin Williams being the line there is really concerning.
Well, Dave and I are much higher on Justin Williams than that.
That's true. That's true, but still, there's, and now these guys are tracking our top 3 for this year's class. So it is certainly a down running back class, especially compared to this year. This year was just a very strong group of guys. So that's good to know. Let's go to wide receivers. I'll let who wants to go first. I'll pick David.
I'd like to hear David's first.
Okay. So my 3 guys are Mekhi Lemon, Zachariah Branch, and Jalen Hale. Those are the 3 guys. What do you got, Matt?
Exact same 3. Zachariah Branch,
you do?
Mekhi Lemon, Jalen Hale.
Thankfully, this is not a debate show, or else I
yeah,
would
really.
y'all to pick something different.
I think we've only had one different player, and that was I had Jeremiah Cobb, and he had Justin Haynes at running back.
And I like Cobb too. So
who's the? So y'all both seem to really like Lemon. Where do we have him compared to this year's class? Do we like him in the Luther Burden, Adam Randall tier if we prefer those players more, or is he slightly a step down? I think he's both of y'all's one, and
No.
he's tier like a tier 2 guy.
Well, I haven't divvied them up into tiers, but him and Branch are in my tier 1. For me, Branch is definitely wide receiver 1 though.
Interesting. So Branch is committed. Is he committed to USC or he is like?
Yeah, they're both committed to USC.
So Branch is clearly the one. Where does he stack up in this year's class?
Probably wide receiver 3, honestly.
So he's still behind Randall and
yeah.
Burden. Okay.
Yeah, he's the
David,
smaller.
I was going to ask. Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say it's probably because of his build, right? I mean, like,
Mm-hmm.
he's not going to be an alpha like Burden or Randall. But I do like Matt's comp of Jalen Waddle for Zachariah Branch. So I mean, he gets open so easily. It's crazy. Like his change of direction is just off the charts. But he's 5'9.5" or whatever he is, like 170, 175. Although he looked at some of the camp stuff I saw, he looked more yoked up to me. So he's getting stronger.
Yeah, if you remember, I sent that video. He can do 225 for like 15 reps already, I think, as a 170-pound wide receiver in high school.
Yeah. I saw him squatting 515 the other day too. It's like,
yeah, he's ridiculously
sense.
athletic.
Yeah.
And his brother is a good bit bigger than him. So I'm hoping that maybe he can have a little bit more of a growth spurt. So I think his brother's like what, like 6'1", like 190 or 200, something like that.
Depending where you look, yeah, I saw 6'2". Zion Branch he went to USC too, right? I'm assuming they.
Yeah, I think he's in this class and he's going to USC, the 2022 class.
Yeah, so he's a safety. It's just pretty big disparity there between brothers. Usually you would think they'd be a little bit closer, but so yeah, maybe he will have a little like late spurt there and get a couple more inches. Who knows?
Yeah, and these are all guys for those listening who are still juniors in high school. It is not out of the question that we see growth from any of these players. Either they add like a good chunk of weight if they're really, really tiny, cough Nico. But I mean, there's a lot of upside still, and potential upside with a lot of these players. So it's really, really interesting. I'll give y'all, before we head out, if you want it, you don't have to take it. One sleeper in this class who is not your top 3, and it's maybe like not in the top 5 of recruiting ranks. One guy you like, probably more than consensus, nobody's talking about, or some people are talking about, and you just feel like they're ranked way too low.
Do you have one, Dave? I got to think of a wide receiver.
I can come up with one. Let's see. I won't actually had a QB one. I won't steal that one from Alfred. I'll go with a receiver. I kind of like, maybe more so than it's not even that much of a sleeper actually. Aiden Misell. I don't know. He's probably ranked too high, I think.
Well, anyways, he very recently climbed up the rankings. He was unranked like a month ago. So
okay. Anyways, Aiden Misell. I don't know. It's not I wasn't prepared for that, so it's not the deepest sleeper there. Wow. I'm just looking at the list in front of me, but yeah, he's like super twitched up receiver. He looks like a receiver that would go to Alabama. I think that's where he's leaning. I don't know for sure, but like he's
wide receiver 22. That is plenty deep for.
Oh, is he 22 on 24/7?
24/7. He's composite 22. He's ranked 23rd by them. Barely a top 200 player nationally, depending where you look. That'll play for a sleeper.
Yeah, and he's like my wide receiver 5 right now, which might be too aggressive, but like he's I don't know, he's got juice. So that's
the
one name I'll throw out there.
So we all like Aiden Misell. Currently out of Florida. Sounds like Alabama, you said, is really interested in him. He's offered from Arkansas and Baylor as well as in Power 5. He seems like a really interesting player. basically because he's going to Alabama or is interested in Alabama and they're interested in him. I like it. Wide receiver 22 in the class. It sounds like we both have him top 10. David's got him top 5. Matt, what you got?
All right, I got a little bit deeper here. Nathan Leacock. He is 6'4", like 180-ish pounds. But he runs 21.5, I believe, miles per hour. So really, he's probably not 6'4". He's probably closer to 6'2". But he's really explosive player. Like the first 6 minutes of his tape is like just all touchdowns. All this guy does is run deep and score touchdowns, and I love it. I think he's from North Carolina.
He's from my neck of the woods. He goes to high school in Raleigh. So
okay,
maybe I'll have to check him out in
watch his huddle tape. He's pretty fun.
Yeah. So he is wide receiver 71 in the composite. He's a 3-star. All the crystal ball predictions have him going to North Carolina State. He is the 510th player nationally. That is a deep target. He's got
I have
great
much
size.
deeper targets like those shows. that was on the conservative end.
I like that. So Nathan Leacock, both y'all have big size speed guys. Aiden Misell, potential Alabama target. Nathan Leacock, sounds like he's leaning North Carolina State. He did just pick up an offer from North Carolina today or yesterday based on his Twitter handle. So that's a nice offer. They're doing a lot of interesting things in North Carolina. So I'm really interested to see if he starts piling in some of those bigger offers, even as a 3-star. That's a deep call. I like that one.
He's kind of, speaking of North Carolina, he's a little Yami-like, if you want to think of the player.
He's got good size at 6'2", also to play that downfield role. If he, that's how he profiles. I like that. So this has been my foray into the official. If you're listening on YouTube, like, subscribe. We really like engagement on that platform. Everything that we're doing is at campuscanton.com. Matt and David are working incredibly hard on so many different projects behind the scenes. Y'all are going to be really impressed when we start to unveil some of the stuff that they're doing. But they've both been great contributors to our supplemental freshman guide, which you can purchase on the site for $20. Or if you sign up for the $49.99 monthly tier, which is our tier 2, you get that guide as part of your membership. Really great stuff in there. Any parting thoughts, guys, before we close out for the night?
No, I think I'm all good. It was good having you on, Moxley, to host us. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thanks for hosting, and I'm just excited to dig a little deeper so I can get a better sleeper next time. But yeah, appreciate you doing this.
He was
I
a
did
sleeper
throw a
up until
curveball.
like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I will allow it. I'm the judge, jury, and executioner of this podcast currently, or this YouTube show. So I'll allow it. If Alfred doesn't allow it, doesn't matter to me. Take care, everyone listening, and let's have a good night and keep these 2022 supplemental drafts rolling.